The weekend in São Paulo did more than hand Ferrari a brutal result. It cracked open a conversation about how the team handles failure, and the timing could not have been worse. You already know the headline: both Ferrari cars failed to finish. And what many expected to be internal damage control instead exploded into a public moment when John Elkann stepped onto a stage in Milan and issued remarks that separated the engineers and mechanics from the drivers, praising the former and saying parts of the team weren't up to par, while urging the drivers to talk less and drive more. That phrasing is important because it reframes the story. It moves the narrative from "we had a bad weekend and here are the technical fixes" to "the people in the seats are the problem." And in a team as intimate and visible as Ferrari, that's an ignition source for controversy. Think about what Ferrari represents. It's not just another team. It carries history, national pride, and an expectation that everything, decisions, language, optics, is meticulously managed. When the chairman uses a public microphone to single out the drivers, the result isn't just hurt feelings. It's a ripple that hits engineers, strategists, sponsors, and the fan base all at once. In the paddock, that kind of public rebuke is felt as theater, not leadership. It draws cameras and commentary away from technical recovery and straight into a debate about trust and tone. That's why Jenson Button's response cut through so quickly. He didn't respond with a long statement or a column. He wrote one sharp line: "Maybe John should lead by example." Two things make that line land. First, Button's reputation. He's not a random fan. He's a world champion who understands the pressures of being in that red suit and the unique ecosystem around it. Second, the economy of the message. It's short, pointed, and flips the spotlight back to the person who chose to shine it. Immediately after Button's reply, social media lit up. Pundits amplified the point, and the conversation shifted from the D and Fs to the implications of leadership by public spectacle. For you watching, the stakes are simple. When a leader speaks publicly in a way that feels like blame, it changes how every member of the team will approach the next race weekend. Engineers start second-guessing, mechanics feel a different kind of pressure, and drivers who are already carrying the weight of the brand lose a bit of the shield they need to perform. So, before we dive into what Button said next and what this could mean long-term, I want to hear from you. Did Elkann cross a line by making those comments on camera? Vote in the comments below, yes or no, and give me one quick sentence why. If you want daily F1 breakdowns like this, subscribe and help Fast News F1 reach 2,000 subscribers. Button's 6-word reply landed like a perfectly placed pit stop overtake. Short, precise, and impossible to ignore. You saw it. Maybe John should lead by example. What makes that line so effective is twofold. First, the messenger. Jenson Button isn't speaking from the cheap seats. He's a former world champion who's been inside the pressure cooker you're watching now. That pedigree gives his words weight. When a driver or ex-driver criticizes leadership tone, it reads as informed perspective, not scalp hunting. Second, the form. In the era of instant reactions, a compact, pointed line travels faster and further than a long op-ed. Button's message flipped the script. Instead of amplifying the chairman's critique of the drivers, it shone a spotlight back onto the person who chose to make that critique public. The result was a reframing of the story, from failure on track to a question about leadership off it. Social media did the rest. Within minutes, the reply was shared, quoted, and dissected. Pundits picked it up, journalists ran with the angle. Fans split into camps. In a paddock where every comment becomes content, that speed matters. But beyond the speed and the name value, there's a deeper reason Button's reaction resonated with so many: context and credibility. He didn't attack the drivers or launch into a partisan rant. He targeted method, the way criticism was delivered, and he did so calmly. That tone made the message feel less like a drive-by and more like a veteran pointing out a leadership lesson learned over decades of racing. Now, about reaction in the paddock, some journalists framed Button's reply as a neat inversion, a reminder that optics are part of leadership. while others cautioned against turning leadership into a public soap opera. You'll have heard a mix of driver camps offering thin, polite statements, engineers quietly muttering about the pressure dynamics, and media personalities pushing the clip on repeat. The key takeaway is this: Button's line didn't just land because it was clever, it landed because it made people think about consequences. There's a difference between calling out mistakes and wielding public pressure as a tool. Button argued for private accountability and public solidarity, and that distinction matters in a team with 2 drivers and a national spotlight. For you watching, here's a simple interaction. In the comments below, type either Button or Elkan. Who do you side with on the tone and delivery? Keep it to 1 word, and if you want, add a short reason. If you're getting value from this breakdown, subscribe and help Fast News F1 hit our goal of 2,000 subscribers so we can keep delivering sharp, timely analysis like this. Smash that like button too if you want an expanded piece on Button's on-air follow-up and the pundits' responses. Up next, I'll dig into why leadership language at Ferrari matters on a structural level, how the team's setup amplifies any public statement. Ferrari's setup makes every word heavier than it would be at almost any other team. And that's why language matters here more than anywhere else in the paddock. Picture the environment. To drivers, a short pit lane walk between the factory and the garage, and a global brand that turns sporting outcomes into national conversation. There's no diffusing heat across a large roster or hiding messages behind layers of management. When the chairman speaks, the drivers hear it directly. When the president criticizes, the mechanics, strategists, and sponsors all feel it. That creates a tightly coupled system where morale and optics are almost as important as engineering updates. Historically, Ferrari has shown both sides of this equation. Eras where leadership quietly contained crises and the team rallied into championship form, and other stretches where tone-deaf public statements fractured trust and performance dipped. The pattern is clear. Public pressure from the top often swaps internal problem-solving for external spectacle, and in a team built around precision and mutual reliance, that shift is dangerous. Trust in this context looks simple, but fragile. It's leaders taking heat privately, engineers getting the green light to experiment without fear of being scapegoated, and drivers knowing the organization will protect them in the press even when results are bad. When that compact of trust holds, everyone works toward shared fixes. When it cracks, people start protecting themselves, and short-term optics replace long-term solutions. Practically, that means a chairman's offhand comment can have technical consequences. Engineers second-guess decisions, upgrade programs slow because nobody wants to own risk, and drivers either clamp up or push too hard to compensate. Both outcomes cost time on track. Button's point about method, that criticism belongs in the garage, not on a stage, matters because it protects those operational rhythms. Another lesson is timing. Criticism delivered immediately after a public disaster amplifies emotion. The same critique given later in a closed meeting focused on solutions lands differently and produces results. Leadership that chooses private accountability over public theater creates psychological safety, and that safety is a performance multiplier. For fans, understanding this helps explain why off-track words sometimes matter more than technical upgrades in the short term. For team leaders and anyone who cares about organizational performance, the takeaway is actionable. Prioritize closed-door truth-telling, align messaging before cameras arrive, and use public statements to unify rather than assign blame. Now, I want you to join the conversation. In the comments, type a single word that best describes how Ferrari feels right now: trust or pressure. Keep it to 1 word, and if you like, add a short reason. Don't forget to subscribe to help Fast News F1 hit 2,000 subscribers so we can keep breaking down moments like this. And give the video a like if this deeper look into leadership and culture helped you see the story differently. When you're ready for the final chapter, where I walk through likely fallout and what comes next for Ferrari on and off the track now that the immediate shock has passed and Button's line has rippled through the paddock. What happens next matters more than ever. and the scenarios split into a few clear pathways you should watch for. First, the quiet fix route. Ferrari pulls key people into private meetings. The chairman clarifies or softens his language behind closed doors. Engineers and drivers get a reset, and the team locks down communications so upgrades and setup work proceed without the added noise of public drama. That outcome stabilizes morale quickly and is the least visible to fans, but it's the healthiest for lap times. Think fewer headlines, more track-focused work, and gradual recovery. Second, the public route scenario. The team issues formal statements. There are televised apologies or rebuttals, and the debate stays in the media cycle for weeks. That path keeps pressure high and forces everyone to spend energy managing optics rather than optimizing performance. Upgrades can be delayed, and the drivers may feel exposed heading into the next races. Third, a hybrid outcome. An initial public exchange is followed by intense private work. A short burst of headlines followed by a controlled, unified narrative that aims to restore trust. That's messy but manageable if leadership commits to real change. For each scenario, there are short and medium-term effects. In the short term, you could see cautious radio messages, more conservative strategy calls, and drivers slightly dialing back overt aggression to avoid giving critics new material. In the medium term, if trust is rebuilt, the team can return to aggressive development and on-track recovery. If it's not, you could see strategic conservatism, slower upgrade uptake, and even personnel shifts as pressure finds targets. Another practical thing to watch for is tone in upcoming press interactions. If Elkan, team principals, or the drivers choose reconciliatory language, that's the signal of internal repair. If they double down on public sparring, expect the story to become a distraction feeding itself. For you as a fan, here's what to look for. Careful wording from the team on social channels, small but telling behavior in the garage engineers, visibly relaxed versus terse exchanges, and any mention of leadership or communication audits in official statements. And one more angle, sponsors and partners dislike lingering controversy. If they start asking questions that can accelerate internal fixes or force more public clarity. Before we wrap, I want a quick vote from you. Do you think Ferrari will fix this quietly or play it out publicly? Type quietly or publicly in the comments and add one short reason if you like. Also, if this breakdown helped you see the stakes beyond the headlines, subscribe and help Fast News F1 hit our goal of 2,000 subscribers so we can keep delivering timely, focused analysis. Give the video a like and share it with someone who follows Ferrari closely. That's the story for now. Alkin's words, buttons might drop, and a paddock suddenly more interested in leadership than lap times.